Hello everyone and welcome to India Sportsbiz Talks. Today we have with us Aparna Popat, former professional international badminton player who represented India at multiple top sporting events including 2 Olympics, the Asian Games and the Commonwealth Games. A few of her achievements include winning 4 medals at the CWG and a silver medal at the World Junior Championships, the first Indian to win a medal at this event. Today, we'll be speaking to her on athletes creating avenues for themselves post their professional careers as well as advocating for sports. Let's dive into it. So, you've brought these amazing laurels to the country and made the entire country proud as a professional badminton player. I would love to know what your day-to-day looks like now.
So my day-to-day pretty much begins with a bit of a workout for myself, and then it's more about just catching up, getting me time, newspapers, looking up stuff online, and all this has to happen before I sort of start getting my daughter ready for school. And now that school is at home and it's online, I think I attend a bit of school every now and then when I'm summoned rather into the room that she sits, to do her online schooling. And the rest of the time pretty much goes in working from home. And as you know, with with the lockdown situation and COVID, since you're working from home, there are no strict timings for work. Sometimes I find myself working well beyond 9 p.m. as well. But try to keep a balance, as all parents do, work-life balance as much as I can, because I love spending time with my daughter. But at the same time, it does get busy with work.
I'd love for you to touch on the development and the advocacy for sports, especially badminton that you're a part of.
So badminton as a sport has really exploded in India over the past decade. And it's all because of our great champions who've been performing, at the highest level, be it, world championships, Olympics. And so the sport, in fact, has come into a lot of limelight. And it's a great space because, for advocacy, because now people are watching it. People are listening to badminton players more than before. And I think this is the right time to actually push not only for the sport, but also beyond it. And all the good things that sport brings and the life lessons that it brings, and the way it can impact society, the way it can change society in for the better, and change lives on an individual basis as well, when you're also really getting in the aspect of good health, be it physical and mental. So, I think through sport and through badminton, for me, specifically because I'm involved in many capacities, with badminton in particular and sports in general, I think there are lots of issues that I like to push and discuss and bring to the forefront.
How did the role pan out for you? Because I'm assuming, and I know actually, that there isn't a blueprint out there for former professional athletes to just jump into the business, whether it be the business of sports or business in general, or just transition from professional athletics to now full-time work. How did you make that transition? What was it that drew you towards developing badminton, and what were the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in a slightly longer sort of, because you've asked about a very long time period. I stopped playing badminton in 2006. So it's almost like over 15 years ago. And I think, so when you're playing competitively, you look at the sport in a very unidimensional way. And you believe the sport is you. It becomes your identity in many ways. And when you stop playing, competitive sport, a lot of things change. And I think for me, the biggest, there are probably about 3 things that I really look back on that sort of affected me. One was the acceptance to say that it's over. You're done with something that you've probably lived with all your life, you've given your life to as well, and you've had this passion for, and it's done. So I think innately that acceptance is extremely important. And then, of course, being an athlete, you've always been in a routine. When you wake up in the morning, you have a purpose, you have a routine, and you go about it. And all that, it just seems so simple, right? There are no decisions to be made every morning when you wake up. It's all there, like it's all mapped out and it's charted, and it's pleasant, and you're doing what you love. And suddenly all that goes for a toss. So, how do you really adjust to that? And you really have to, start all over again, because it's your career. One career is done. Assuming now you have to build another career. There's also a lot of personal development, because you've been in this bubble of competitive sport, but now you're a very much just a part of society, which is a very big transition to make. You probably, depending on what your second career is going to be, you have to upskill yourself. For me, I joined Indian Oil Corporation. I mean, I was always with Indian Oil when I was playing, but it was more as a player, and just wearing their logo at tournaments and representing them, though being employed, of course. But it's only after you stop playing competitive that you get into the mainstream of work. So I had a 9-to-5 job at Indian Oil, and I was luckily handling sports administration there. So I had a connect to sport, but again, the skills required were very, very different. And then developing the essential, work skills for that particular role. I think for me, two things worked in my favor. One is that I always was very open to learning. So, and the second thing was something that I believe that everyone is good at their own craft. I might have been a champion in badminton, but in the office, I'm just another employee. And there are people better than me, and there are bosses who sit in higher positions than me. And I had no qualms about, knocking on doors and saying, "Excuse me, sir, can I come in?" Even though I was an Olympian 2 times over, there was no ego there. It was just all a part of, I want to be part of the system. I want to be accepted. I want to be really good at my work. I want to be a champion at my work as well. So this kind of attitude, really helped, and I think made stuff easier for me to transition. Then what I realized was there's so much to sport, right, other than just competing. So a lot of avenues sort of opened up, be it badminton coaching, where I got involved because I love kids, okay, and I love the sport. So what better place to be than at coaching? And for me, I think the competitive edge sort of waned off once I'd stopped competing. So I wanted to get into coaching more with the point of view of impacting lives and changing lives, because I changed tremendously as a person just because I played sports. So that came in. I was very shy, but there was an opportunity for TV commentary that sort of fell into my lap, which I took up. And then eventually, over the last 5-6 years, I've been commentating regularly for the Premier Badminton League, which happens every year. Did a TEDx talk sometime earlier this year, which is hopefully will be online soon. We as athletes complain a lot about the system. So you either continue complaining or you sort of try and get into it and make a difference. So I got a chance to get into governance, sat as the executive director at the Olympians Association of India until recently. So where you try to make systems, you try to help fellow Olympians, get better and in whatever initiatives they have. So a lot of these things happened, post competition. So the transition was smooth. The last 15 years have been smooth. I think I've done a lot of things, and I hopefully will be able to continue giving back and contributing to sport.
So how do you think for you as an ace athlete, were the challenges different? Were you still able to approach your name as an Olympian, as a absolute winner on the court? Were you able to approach people and get an opportunity immediately, or were there a lot of obstacles along the way?
No, I don't think, for me, when somebody asks me about obstacles, it's a really difficult question to answer, because as an athlete, I've seen so many ups and downs, and successes and failures, that if an obstacle comes along, it just seems like yet another, it's just something that needs to be tackled, and then you move on. So it somehow doesn't settle in my head as an obstacle. It's just something, a problem that I have to solve and then carry on, with whatever I want to do. So no, I wouldn't say there were too many obstacles in that sense, or at least they don't come to mind. But yeah, I think as an Olympian, because you carry this tag, and very proudly so, it's also not about the number of titles you won, or how many Olympics you participated in, but rather carrying the spirit of Olympism within you. And I think those are the fundamental sort of traits that you'd want to carry forward in whatever you do, right? Be it integrity, be it respect, be it excellence, striving for that. And I think as an athlete, we build certain traits, because without it, you can't reach a level of performance. And I think very simple things like being disciplined, being focused, having a very strong work ethic, being resilient. And these are the skills you develop as an athlete over a period of time. But the challenge really becomes, how do you transfer these skills into your workplace or in what you're doing? And I think that becomes a big challenge. But it all comes again with the fact that if you're really striving for excellence, if you're trying to be better, and that was my motto. And really, we talk about process and not results. For me, process is very simple. You just try to be better at whatever you're doing. It's as simple as that. If there are 5 tasks, in each of those 5 tasks, you try to be better. And that's your process for you, broken down. And that pretty much remains for whatever you do. And, again, as athletes, you believe that you have these traits. It's all about keeping them. It's all about the cross transfer of those traits into work and into life situations also, very importantly. And I think that's it. We athletes know how to cope, because sports is unscripted. You put us out there and we don't know what's going to happen, but we try and manage situations, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. That's life for you.
Couldn't agree more, especially the part where you mentioned process is so important. I was listening to another podcast which mentioned that what differs legends from others is they follow a sequence, they follow discipline, and they break down their morning process and follow it to the T every single day. So that sequence is just so important and such an underlying aspect of success. So appreciate you giving us all a reminder of that. You also mentioned the Premier Badminton League, a badminton league for professionals. How has that brought in newer opportunities, and how do you think that's genuinely contributing towards the game? Because today, of course, we speak about commercialization of sports in India, and opportunities that are being provided now to athletes are very different than the ones that will be provided to them a few years back.
So I think the PBL has been a very significant part of not only the Indian badminton calendar, but the world badminton calendar. And it's the richest badminton league in the world. And it was in India, so it's something that we were really, really proud of. But what really came about was the fact that our youngsters, and of course experienced athletes as well, got to rub shoulders with the best in the world. Along with that, they've made a lot of money, which is great. And just having something like this on home soil sort of adds to the excitement of the game and the popularity of the game. So a lot of pluses, overall for the PBL, because it also, as you mentioned, brought about opportunities. One for me in particular, because I was on the commentary team over all the seasons of the PBL, in fact, which was 5 seasons in all. And we've just seen how the league has grown. Of course, leagues are tricky business, when it comes to the actual commercials of it. So I wouldn't want to comment on that, but what it has done for the sport is been brilliant. And over the years, we've seen a pattern that the players who've really done well at the PBL have also gone on then to have very successful seasons on the international circuit. So that tells a lot about the quality and the level of play that we saw at the Premier Badminton League. And it's just been a thrill, that event, because it's a new format, it's this whole team culture and a lot of tamasha. And I think sports is today, as much as it's about performance, it's also about entertainment. And the PBL marries both very well. And yeah, we're looking forward to many more seasons of the PBL.
Lastly, I'd love for you to touch upon what you would want to do to use your platform, to use your voice. How would you like to now promote development, and where do you see the development of badminton particularly head towards? And how would you like to contribute more towards it?
So I think badminton is a field where a lot of people are looking at now in terms of making a career. Yeah, and so I feel a lot of them are taking to coaching. Okay, the events are being organized. I mean, PBL of course being one of the bigger ones, but also smaller events and leagues that are happening all over the country. And then of course, because there are lots more players playing the sport, there's a lot of demand for support staff like your physios and your nutrition experts and things, the support staff that are involved, which also brings you to when there are a lot of numbers. And in India, remember, one of our strengths are our numbers. So, there are a lot of IT platforms that are now looking to sort of use badminton or badminton using IT, whichever way you want to look at it, to actually, go forward and construct businesses around that. Infrastructure, because there's lots of demand for badminton courts. So badminton courts are being built across the country. And we're also now looking very strongly at education in badminton, which means, whether it's coach education, whether it's looking after our players. And just because there are more people playing, there's also a demand for, say, merchandise or equipment and things like that. So I think overall, the sport of badminton is really, really looking good in terms of business as well, and business opportunities, which is a great sign. And I think personally, there are a few things that I will be looking at for myself also in badminton. But as you said, advocacy and, using the sport of badminton and other sports as well, because I'm involved in administration and governance, where I hope to, sort of try. Everything is an effort, right? I'm not saying you're going to fix it, but you're going to do your best to sort of create the efficiencies and maybe create systems somewhere or impact systems. Something that, again, as I mentioned earlier, we've complained about long enough. Coaching is somewhere where I look at coaching and mentoring, where you impact lives because you share knowledge, you share experiences. Public platforms like social media, as well as actually giving talks where you want to motivate the youngsters and sort of let them know that sports is, goes beyond winning medals. And of course, there are social issues where like women in sport, which is something very important and close to my heart, that you want to talk about and highlight. And you really change the myth that when a woman is playing sport, that she's doing something against her natural being. That needs to go. And as a player and as an Olympian, you today realize that, sports people will only be strong if they stand together. We'll only have a loud enough voice to change what we and have our way if we stand together. So try and get people together, and get athletes together and fight for a common cause. And I think these are like the few things where two things, if you can change mindsets and if you can change systems, or tweak them. I'm not saying like there's a major revolution or anything required, but just create awareness. And these are the two things, mindsets and systems, I think, is at least something that I am striving towards. And what keeps me excited about sport even today. It's all about giving back. Now that you finished playing, I've been a beneficiary of the sport long enough. Now it's about giving back.
That's wonderful. That's great to hear. I mean, so inspiring, at the same time motivating that we have women like you who've played and now are working for the advocacy of the sport. And I have no qualms that this is going on the right track as systems are changing, and we've seen more opportunities enveloped for our athletes and coaches in the past. So appreciate and commend your efforts, and really looking forward to what you have in store.
For sure. I think we'll need the support of each other going forward, because it's all a collective effort. I think we realize that nothing can be done alone. So it's really great for somebody as young as you to actually have a talk like this, because it sort of keeps us on our toes. It helps us learn as well, and hopefully at some point that we can collaborate and see how to make things better for sport.
That'll be a check mark of my bucket list. So thank you so much for saying that.
Great.
Great, thank you. It brings me to the end of my questions. Again, appreciate having you and for you to share your thoughts so honestly and articulately. Hope to chat soon in the future.
Awesome. Really enjoyed the chat.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Please don't be afraid to reach out and let me know what else and who else you want to listen to next. Also, if you did enjoy this interview, please don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast India Sportsbiz Talks through your desired podcasting platform. To end the podcast, I'd like to leave you with a quote by Simone Biles. Today, do what others won't, so tomorrow you can accomplish what others can't. With that thought in mind, thank you, and until next time, keep the Josh high.